Start with the user's prompt, establishing the immediate tension of the divorce papers and the wife's manipulative test. Emphasize her smirk and the husband's immediate suspicion. The crisp, white paper slid across the polished mahogany, stopping precisely at my fingertips. My wife, Ilara, leaned back, her eyes fixed on my face, a predatory smirk playing on her lips. "Just a test, darling," she purred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "A little loyalty check. I want to see how much you truly value me." But the cold glint in her eyes, the almost imperceptible tremor in her hand, and that chilling smirk told me everything. This wasn't a game, this was a trap, meticulously laid, and I was the unsuspecting prey. There is a twist in the story that no one knows about, so stay in the story. Describe the husband's internal reaction, the shock, the betrayal, and the dawning realization that this test is far more sinister than it appears. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the sudden silence. A wave of nausea washed over me, quickly followed by a surge of icy clarity. This wasn't the first test Ilara had sprung, but it was by far the cruelest. Each previous game had chipped away at my trust, eroding the foundations of what I thought was our marriage. Now, faced with the ultimate betrayal, the dawning realization hit me. Her loyalty checks were never about me. They were about her control, her insatiable need to dominate and manipulate. Reflect on their relationship's history, hinting at a pattern of manipulation or emotional games from the wife's side that led to this moment. Our entire relationship, I now saw, was a series of carefully orchestrated trials, designed to keep me perpetually off balance, always striving to prove my worth. From the casual flirtation she'd engineer with other men to gauge my jealousy, to the sudden inexplicable silences meant to provoke my desperate apologies, Ilara thrived on emotional chaos. This fake divorce was merely the grand finale, the ultimate performance in her theater of psychological warfare. The woman I loved was a stranger, a master puppeteer pulling my heartstrings for sport. Detail the wife's demeanor during this test, her coldness, her expectation of his begging, and how her actions solidify his resolve. Ilara watched me, her posture rigid, her eyes gleaming with an almost sadistic anticipation. She expected tears, pleas, a desperate scramble to reassure her of my devotion. She wanted to see me broken, begging for her to retract the papers, to end her cruel charade. Her smirk widened slightly, a silent challenge, a testament to her belief in her own power over me. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. The years of emotional abuse, the constant gaslighting, coalesced into a singular, unyielding resolve. The husband's decision to sign. Describe the internal struggle, the weight of the decision, and the shift from hurt to a cold, calculated resolve. A profound calm settled over me, a stillness that surprised even myself. The fear dissipated, replaced by a cold, hard determination. I picked up the pen, its weight surprisingly heavy in my hand. This wasn't about proving my loyalty to her anymore. It was about reclaiming my own. It was about ending the cycle of her games, about refusing to be a pawn in her twisted narrative. The signature I was about to make wouldn't be an act of surrender, but an act of liberation, a declaration of my own self-respect. The act of signing, the physical sensation, the finality, and the wife's reaction as he doesn't beg. Her smirk might falter. With a steady hand, I uncapped the pen. The scratch of the nib against the paper was the loudest sound in the room, a stark counterpoint to Ilara's suddenly faltering smirk. My name, clear and legible, appeared on the dotted line. I didn't hesitate, didn't look up, didn't offer a single word of protest or plea. The finality of the act hung heavy in the air, a tangible presence. I pushed the signed papers back across the table, meeting her stunned gaze with an expression she had never seen before, utter, absolute indifference. His immediate actions after signing. How he treats it like the real thing. Perhaps by calmly discussing logistics, or making arrangements she didn't expect. "Right," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours to discuss the division of assets and custody arrangements. I'll need a copy of the settlement agreement by end of day." I stood up, adjusting my tie, treating the signed document with the same detached professionalism one would a business contract. Her jaw dropped, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and dawning horror. This wasn't the reaction she had anticipated. This wasn't part of her script. The wife's growing realization that her test has backfired spectacularly. Her confusion, anger, and the dawning horror that she's lost control. Ilara stammered, "Vikram, wait! It was just a test. You don't understand." Her voice, usually so composed, was now laced with genuine panic. The smirk was gone, replaced by a desperate, pleading expression. The realization that her game had backfired spectacularly, that she had irrevocably broken something she thought she controlled, began to dawn on her. She had pushed too far, and I had finally pushed back, not with anger, but with a chilling, calculated acceptance of her terms. The husband's internal monologue or a brief explanation of why he signed. It's not about revenge, but about reclaiming his dignity and refusing to be played. I turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. "Oh, I understand perfectly, Ilara," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, yet cutting through her rising hysteria. "I understand that you wanted to see if I'd beg. And I understand that I finally chose my own dignity over your endless games. This isn't a test anymore. This is real. And for the first time in a long time, I feel truly free." The words were a final, definitive period to a chapter of my life I was determined to close. The immediate aftermath, the irreversible change in their relationship, and the uncertain but now empowered future for the husband. The test has revealed the truth for both of them. The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by Ilara's ragged gasp. I walked out, leaving her amidst the wreckage of her own making, the signed divorce papers a stark monument to her failed manipulation. The future was uncertain, undoubtedly messy, but it was mine to shape, free from the constant shadow of her tests. She had wanted to measure my loyalty. Instead, she had measured the depth of my resolve, and found it to be far greater than she could ever have imagined.